Hello, everybody. My name is Tiziana Ilesi, and I'm client manager for Kilpatrick International Headhunting and HR Consulting Company. I am extremely happy to welcome you to the podcast Türkiye Through Her Voice. The aim of the podcast is to give voice to Turkish ladies who have reached leadership positions inside and outside of the country. We will listen to their voices with open minds and try to understand the reality better, avoiding stereotypes. So I'm very happy to welcome Gülsevin Tuncay. Welcome. Thank you so much. So, Gülsevin is the Investor Relations Director for Campari, right?
Yes.
It's okay. So, Campari, this is actually an icon brand from Italy, the symbol of Milano da Bere, right?
Yes.
So it's to choose for just such a leadership role, such a sensitive role, a Turkish professional is a statement, very strong one. What do you think? Why you? What do you think made Campari take this decision to choose a Turkish lady for this role?
It's an interesting question, and I feel like Campari clearly, we call it the Spirito Italiano. Campari embodies that. It's a cultural brand that's part of this Girbitsli, but at the same time, over the last 20 years, especially since it went public, it's been ever growing globally. And so it's been on a development path, on a global path, and it's been internationalizing and bringing in new people, new perspectives, and trying to cover a more homogeneous, let's say, approach to how they work and what they do. Clearly, the fact that I was living here in Milan, I speak a little bit of Italian. Doesn't hurt to speak very good Italian. So they were looking for someone with experience. I think if they had found someone who had experience in beverages per se, maybe they could have also considered that. But I think what they really were looking for was someone who had experience internationally, who had experience in investor relations, who was able to understand and cover different sectors. And in my background, I've worked covering many different sectors. Maybe we'll talk about that afterwards. But I believe that was a big part. So my experience and the fact that I brought an international perspective and I could really talk, let's say, with the investors based on what I've done in the past. Then I think the most important other thing is the culture. Because apart from being international, Campari as a company has a very, very clear and strong culture. It's very entrepreneurial. They want to be agile. They want people to take responsibility and ownership, and they want people to have passion for what we do. And I don't want to say I have passion for drinking, but I definitely have a passion for the brands that we represent and what they mean in terms of their role in society. I mean, you can say that alcohol is alcohol, but for me, actually, alcohol represents socializing, getting together. And this is something I'm actually quite passionate about. So I think bringing all those things together, meeting the culture of the company with the international aspect, and being in Milan and speaking a little bit of Italian so I can represent a little bit of the Spirito Italiano worked well.
Okay. And I love them. So you think that this diversity in terms of also, well, you are originally from Turkey, but also you have spent a lot of years in US and UK. So and then Italy finally. Am I missing any country or
No.
So this gave you maybe this international background that was needed for Campari to have this diversity in terms of experience, culture, etc.
I think so. I think they also want to make sure that they bring in different voices and they want to be able to reach out to investors with an international perspective, and I think that all work together.
Okay. And talking about you were first talking about the different roles. You have worked in different sectors. Actually, I think you started with banking, right?
In Istanbul, I had a small experience in role before that, but the primary role was in Istanbul. Yes.
Okay, all right. And sectors where leadership has a very strong meaning. What is it that you faced, the tough situation you faced that maybe nobody prepared you for at the beginning of your career, and how did you develop through these difficulties?
I became a manager quite early in my career, and I would say the biggest difficulty is knowing how to manage teams and people. Uh, I still find it quite challenging because with every person that you work with, you need to have a slightly different approach. You have obviously your own way of working and what you prefer, but then it matters a lot how you manage the people and the relationship. And I think that is something that over the years I think I've gotten better at. But at the beginning, this was quite a big challenge for me. I mean, I had people in my team when I was quite young. I became a manager who were older than me, and managing all those relationships, managing the wants and the needs of the people in your team, together with your peers as well, and how to manage those relationships, and then of course your bosses and the management was probably the most difficult thing. The thing that I had to spend most time on to make sure that I got better over the years.
Did you see any difference in the relationship between inside the team for leading position towards people, males and females, or was it equal for you?
I would say it was equal. I mean, it depends more the character of the person in general rather than the sex per se. And yeah, I think it's all about managing the specific um, needs of that specific person. No, yes, I wouldn't separate it.
And when was the moment in your career that where you decided, okay, good is not enough. Now I want to go exception. Is there a specific moment? You said you started being a manager very early in your career, and then you went on. And when is it the moment, if any, where you say, okay, I'm not going to stop here?
That's also a difficult question because actually a lot of the choices that I made in my career were also shaped by the decisions I made in my personal life. And therefore, moving to Milan was a personal decision. And therefore, I didn't want to move to Milan without a job. And so when I left Istanbul, I actually loved my job. I think was on a very good career path, and I could see a future for myself and a development path for myself. But I left that a little bit behind, and I decided to actually push myself into a new sector. I was always working in corporates in the past, and I started to do consultancy, which is, the other side of the table. So you can say, I had experience, I knew what they did. I had never experienced it from that perspective. So it was a jump, let's say, into a new country, a new way of working, and a new sector. And this probably, I mean, if I had a choice, maybe I wouldn't have done if I hadn't made the decision to move to Milan. But it did add something to my career for sure. And I'm very happy I did it, because anything that you do brings you new perspectives and new experiences, which then help you in the rest of your career. Now, coming to Campari, I've actually kind of moved back to what I love doing in the SIM and investor relations strategy. These are all areas that I really enjoy. I'm passionate about doing. And therefore, having the opportunity to do that in a company like Campari was something that I didn't want to miss out on, let's say. So it's a mix between how can I use my experience at its best to provide value to where I'm working, but more importantly, what am I passionate about and what do I want to do, and what excites me every morning to get out and go to the office, and a mix of the personal life and the decisions I've made over the years.
Yeah, I mean, where I have found out that sometimes we need to not to separate these two parts of our life, like personal and job. Otherwise, it becomes like a conflict and between the two. And it should be more, like something that two sides that are working in harmony with each other. So I don't believe that we should find the balance between two sides of us, but rather have them mix in one solid side, so to say.
Yes, I fully agree. Also, because if you want to be happy in your personal life, in your career and your work life has to fit into that. So if they're clashing, as you said, and if one is creating pressure on the other, then it makes everything very difficult. It makes also your personal relationships difficult. It makes the amount of focus and energy you have with the work difficult. So really making those work together, I fully agree, is one of the most important things.
And I mean, investor relationship, this is really something that must cause also stress from time to time. Well, how do you deal with stress? Do you have, I mean, you have two dogs, right? Three dogs. Okay. Are they inside your life? Are they also helping you to find the balance in life? And how is it that to find release to the stress?
Yes, investor relations is a little bit stressful because you have a lot of counterparts. So I have the investors, I have the analysts who write reports about us, I have our top management who needs to be aligned with the narrative that we're telling. Then I have to coordinate with a lot of teams internally because I don't really create. Yeah, I'm not part of the business. Therefore, I need to learn the business. I need to get them on board and tell the story together. So there's a lot of different counterparts, which makes it quite difficult. And then there's, of course, the stress of saying something externally, and therefore you have to decide what to say and how to do it. What do I do to deal with that? My dogs really do help, I have to say. My smallest one now is 2 years old, the others are 6, and he has hair that grows. So he's not one of those dogs that has short hair. It grows. And so one of my favorite things to do is to clip him. I can't just... This relaxes me a lot. I play with him.
Does it relax him or it is practice?
It's just me. It's a bit of a stress for him, it's true, but it relaxes me. Then, spending time with my husband, taking them out pro walk, that does definitely relax me. One of the key things that relaxes me, however, is being prepared for what I need to do. So spending enough time to make sure that I know what I'm doing. I know exactly, what needs to be done is also important.
Yeah, I believe that he's confirmed is that investors' relationship cannot be by improvising. Also, it's not a role that can be made without strong preparation. Because, as you said, it's communication to stakeholders that are relevant
and very smart. And a lot of what they do is to try to extract information from you to make their investment decisions. A lot of what you do is to make sure you give them enough, but not more than enough, and in the way that you want to do it. So it's a lot of fine-tuning and easing of the communication to do it in a way that makes the relationship work with them, makes them comfortable with what you're saying, but then, of course, protects the company in the back end, of course.
And I want to ask you something. A lot of ladies in leadership positions, but also in personal life, I would add, they are reporting an imposter syndrome, meaning they feel that they are not adequate, they are not in line with the expectation, and they feel that they fear, actually, not they feel, but fear that at a certain point they will be discovered in being not appropriate for life, for work, for being a wife, being a mother, being what friend or whatever. Have you ever experienced this, or have you ever seen someone of your friends, colleagues experience this syndrome?
Like everyone experiences this, not just women. And I feel like I definitely do, not just at work, as you said, in many of the personal things that I do. The way I feel is the best way to deal with it is to be prepared. And prepared is not just the the work itself. It's really about, what do you want to get out of the relationships? What do you want to get out of that one specific context? So going in and having a goal of what you want to get out of it and what you want to communicate to the other person, like it makes everything much easier. And therefore, I apply this in my personal life, probably maybe less if I'm going out with my friends for a dinner, but in general, and I definitely apply this also in my career.
And how do you deal with unexpected situation where you cannot be prepared? What is your straight? What technique, if any, you use to face situation where you cannot be prepared?
I don't do anything like yoga, so I'm terrible at all this stuff.
No meditation, blah blah blah. No holistic approach.
And what I try to do is take a step back and decide what the priority and what the focus should be. Because in those kind of moments, you can't manage everything. So what's important to understand is what you can manage and how to do it. And therefore, what in consulting, they always call it 80-20. So 80% you forget, and 20% the most important part you focus on. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, sometimes maybe it's only 5% that you need to focus on. Get that right, and then everything else will come together. And therefore, stepping back and deciding what that 5, 10, 15, whatever percent is, and really focusing on that in those moments, I think helps.
Very good. So we have now a colleague of ours that would like to ask you a question.
Yes, moving from Istanbul to Milan means change mindset, culture, and new rhythms. So, what did Italy teach you that Turkey could not, and vice versa?
Maybe I take it with a slightly different approach because, as you said, Tiziana, also before, I moved many countries over my life. I actually changed 10 schools before I went to university. And, this was not all in different countries, but in general, it means changing friends, changing environment. And from each of these, especially when you start doing it at a young age, you start to learn, first of all, how to manage people, I think better, because you need to be the one who integrates yourself into situations. Then you need to understand also, how you're navigating, with who, where do you want to position yourself, and how to get the best out of the situation that you're in. And so I think over the years, slowly I built up this capability, and therefore I wouldn't say, is Italy versus Turkey different in some way, or was there something specific that I learned here that I couldn't there? No, I would say in general, what is important is being open to the perspectives and really trying to benefit from the diversity that we see around us. And in Italy, I think in Milan, even though it's very Italian, especially the company I work for and I worked for, we're always very international as well. So, really bringing those different perspectives in, being open to them, not kind of closing yourself off to new opportunities or new ideas that you might not have considered. Maybe just a fun example. I obviously I'm Turkish, so I'm really kind of crazy and I like doing things off the cuff. And I decide last minute. My husband is Italian. He is much more structured. He's not German, but he's Italian, so he's very structured. He likes to plan ahead of time, and getting used to that was very challenging for me. So now what we decided to do is we do a mix. So I do whatever I want last minute, but then he plans ahead of time. So we have both sides covered. And I think our work, it's the same. So it's not just Italy versus Turkey. It's really about the characters per se, and really managing those or bringing those two perspectives in to do a better job. Thank you.
And now, one other question. As responsible for investor relation, if you would consider the career of a woman as an investment, what would you suggest to women, to ladies, in order to really push for their career and see this as an investment for life?
I would say it's a dedication and effort, because nothing comes for free, and therefore you need to put effort into things. And at the beginning of a career, I think it's more important when you don't have a family, you don't have other things, maybe to prioritize more towards the career. And then once you start kind of having to balance more your personal and private life because of additional responsibilities and so forth, to be in a position where you can make decisions to create that balance. That means getting to a position where you have a little bit more flexibility, and therefore investing ahead and then being prepared for the jobs that come and the opportunities that come, and then trying to balance and make sure that you're focusing on doing that, I think is critical. And as we said before, not creating a clash with your personal life. I mean, investing in your career doesn't necessarily mean choosing just that. It's about balance, and therefore, really being open to it, investing, putting the effort in, but then balancing, and making sure you enjoy it. Because if you don't like what you're doing, then you're not gonna put your energy into it, and therefore, do something maybe like. So I thought that would be my biggest advice.
Do you think that making career is more difficult for ladies?
No, a straight question.
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, just because of our physical nature and the responsibility that we have, there are some things where we have to balance. I mean, you asked me before, but it was very challenging in my life right now, actually. Very recently, I had 4 people in my team. Either, their wives had kids or babies, they got pregnant, or they had just had a baby and had come back from maternity. So all of my team was basically covered with these things. One most challenging period in my career, I would say, but obviously very exciting and very happy for everyone. But for the women, when this happens to them, obviously I see the difference. When men go away for a couple of months, they have responsibilities clearly, but they come back. The women have to give more efforts in both situations. So even just physically, that makes a difference. From every other aspect, I would say it's equal.
And do you think that either the government or the companies can do something to support ladies in this process of creating light, and also pensions for us, we can. So it's a social responsibility also to support this, in my opinion.
And I think there's been a lot of development over the last 5, 10, maybe 20 years on this. A lot more understanding of why that diversity is important in a workplace and what women can bring, and therefore some of the maybe a leeway that you have to get to one in these kind of situations is actually not a negative, and it's not a reason not to choose a woman versus a man, but it's something to deal with, and it's therefore the decision or the responsibility, as you said, first of governments, but more importantly, I think also companies, because companies, irrespective of the government's minimum regulations, can also make decisions to support their employees and make it a better place to work. And therefore, I see that. I mean, very good companies are making a lot of strides in this. My company specifically, I think, is very good in this. And I feel like women, it's a decision pattern where you decide to work. And therefore, it also differentiates companies in terms of attracting the best talent. So it's great for everyone. Works both ways.
I'm happy to hear that Campari is also doing a lot in this direction. You cannot say of all the same of all the companies.
No, actually, I fully agree, and I would say we're at a very good level already, and we're always making strides to even more. So I'm very much appreciative.
Very good. And now a question that we all make to all our guests as a final question. Do you think that now you're living in Italy, but I believe you still have contacts with Turkey? Do you think that in Turkey we're going in the right direction to have or to reach a world where women and men have the same opportunities and leadership?
From my experience, having grown up outside of Turkey and then moving there up to university, I was positively surprised, clearly, with how much opportunity women were given at the time. And I was given a lot of opportunities in my career. One of the reasons where I am today is because of the opportunities that were given to me when I lived in Istanbul. And therefore, that's fully appreciated. And I think companies understand the value of that. There's maybe even less differentiation between women and men, especially the bigger companies in Istanbul. And it's almost less of a topic there than in Europe. Is it going in the right direction? I haven't been there for some time, but I still have a lot of friends in very strong positions in their career and who are continuously developing. And I hope that continues. I think it's a great thing. And it's always nice to see globally more and more Turkish women also in different positions outside of Turkey. So
I was definitely surprised in discovering in Italy such a presence of Turkish ladies. Let's hope it will continue like this.
exactly. That's so.
So, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation.
And thank you very much for watching. And to you guys, stay tuned for our next episode.